I was stunned. I just couldn't believe that was happening.
A fixture in Hot Springs since the late 1800s.
Very, very sad. It's a huge loss.
Gutted in less than 24 hours.
It just has a lot of memories for people in Hot Springs.
Tonight, the fight continues, but with the realization that nothing can save the Majestic Hotel.
I'm just devastated.
We're all just kind of floored.
It just broke my heart.
24 hours after a fire ripped through the top floor, the only thing that remains of the Majestic Hotel is the outer shell. Good evening. I'm Kevin Kelly. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, fire crews remain on the scene, dousing what's left of the historic building. But joining those firefighters this evening, wrecking crews who have started the demolition process. We begin with Fox 16's Suzanne Bruner. She joins us live from the scene with a closer look at what's next for the Majestic Hotel. Suzanne?
Hey, Kevin, as you mentioned, the demolition process is underway right now. It has been for the last couple of hours. As of this point, though, you can't see it happening from where we're standing. That's because crews are actually on the other side of the burned Majestic Hotel, where access is blocked off. But that's where crews are at, breaking the walls in to bring it down. At the same time, though, you can see fire engines shooting water into the building to put out any hot spots. Much progress has been made since a fire broke out Thursday night at the historic Majestic Hotel around 5:30.
Volunteer fire departments have been sent home. The fire chief now is rotating his firemen in.
Today, fire crews got a good handle of the flames, shooting water at all sides of the hotel. Gas companies had to dig to cut gas lines while crews began the demolition process.
As the building crumbles, we'll be putting that fire out at the same time. Right now we can't get to the fire as it continues to burrow down toward the ground floor.
Hot Springs City Manager David Watkins says they're going to work around the clock until the process is complete.
A fire of this magnitude typically takes somewhere between about 6,000 to 8,000 gallons per minute. So at 8,000 gallons per minute, that's almost 500,000 gallons per hour.
So over a 24-hour period, the city has used at least 12 million gallons of water. As a result, the city's water tanks dropped.
So we have asked residents and businesses to conserve voluntarily.
ADEQ monitoring the air and quality at the site all day.
There is asbestos in there. We're going to be able to knock the building down and actually transport the rubble to an approved landfill.
Meanwhile, residents continue to drive by, snap photos, shocked to see a piece of history go down in flames.
And we had our wedding reception in the Majestic there, and a lot of good memories, and it's just a sad day.
City officials told me they expect to be out here for days to come to clean up the damage left behind and to help restore parts of this historic district here in Hot Springs. Live in Hot Springs, Suzanne Bruner, Fox 16 News.
Suzanne, feeding off of what David Watkins said within your story about the asbestos and how eventually it's going to have to be hauled off to a landfill that accepts it. We understand that Garland County landfill is licensed to accept it, but in order for them to receive it, two things need to happen. And this is according to city officials. One, all of that debris needs to cool down. It can't be accepted while it's still hot. And two, the landfill itself has to be able to accept it. And we're waiting for that decision. But getting back to the demolition process that you were talking about, is the thought process attack it from behind so that exterior wall, which is over your shoulder, will eventually fall inward and away from the sidewalk and the street? Is that the plan of attack?
That is correct, Kevin. They want to make this as safe as possible. They're trying to push in the walls into the building so that it crumbles to the ground. And at the same time, they are fighting the fire in there, or what's left of it. So it is a safe process there.
And real quick, do you expect that to happen tonight or sometime early tomorrow morning?
Well, they're attacking it right now, and city officials told me they plan to be out here doing the demolition process 24/7 until it all comes down, Kevin.
Suzanne Bruner, live in Hot Springs with the very latest on the fire and the demolition. Thank you very much. Also tonight, the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality confirming, as many suspected, that there are environmental concerns, among them asbestos and lots of it. As a result, it immediately granted the city of Hot Springs emergency approval to safely remove that potentially dangerous debris. Another concern, water runoff that is spilling into the streets and nearby storm drains. The city now conducting additional water samples, making sure that it's safe. The aftermath of this massive fire, difficult for some to comprehend, especially for those with fond memories of this historic building. Built in the late 1800s, the hotel was a popular destination for tourists and athletes. This is what it looked like inside during the good old days when business was booming. In 1926, the hotel expanded, adding an 8-story red brick addition. But despite all the upgrades, the shutdown of illegal gambling in the 1960s took its toll, and the hotel never fully recovered. In 2006, the hotel closed its doors permanently.
I knew that old section of the Majestic might have to be torn down in the near future, which was very sad, but to have it burn like that, it just seems, well, it's awful.
The deep-rooted history of the Majestic Hotel even carries over into the sports world, hosting several big league teams for spring training and bringing with them baseball legends, including these guys, Babe Ruth and Al Duvamore. The two sluggers posing just outside the Majestic Hotel in the early 1920s. The Bambino came to Hot Springs prior to this photo when he played for the Red Sox for spring training at Majestic Field, which was just a few miles away from the hotel. Today, an office building stands there, but a century ago, it was the site of one of the most mythical plays in baseball lore, a 573-foot home run by Babe Ruth.
The ball flew so far over the right center field fence that spontaneously the Brooklyn Dodgers players who he hit it against stood up and started gesturing and cheering.
Another more infamous visitor of the Hot Springs, gangster Al Capone. This photo captured during one of his visits. At one time, legend has it that his arch enemy, Bugs Moran, and his gang were checked in at the Majestic Hotel at the same time as Capone was staying at the Arlington. Luckily, the two sides minded their own business while on vacation. Arkansans certainly reacting to the loss of the Majestic Hotel. I asked you to post your comments and memories of the hotel on our Facebook page, and here's how some of you are responding. April writes, "When I was a young girl, my dad played in the band up there. I would come up there and dance, even swim in the pool. I had lots of fun memories there." This is what Nancy posted. "I used to visit Hot Springs with my grandmother in the late 1950s and early 1960s. We stayed in the new Lanai rooms, overlooking the pool. My friend and I went swimming in the heated pool in 30-degree temperatures one winter and had a great time." And finally, Michelle says, "My husband and I spent part of our honeymoon at the Majestic. We used to stay there every year for our anniversary too. We got married in 1990. Coming up later in this newscast, a look at some of the historical buildings in Little Rock. See what's being done to keep them up to fire code. And we've posted much more on the Majestic Hotel fire on our website, including raw aerial footage of the fire. If you want to check it out, just be sure to visit our website, fox16.com.
Now, whether to plan